All right, let's get into the actual games for this week. Some good ones, some big ones, especially in the NFC. Los Angeles Rams at the Chicago Bears. That is the Sunday night football matchup. There's just so many storylines in this one because the Rams, of course, their incredible offense. Jared Goff coming off his worst game last week at Detroit. Our boy George over here said, look, that might be the perfect trap game for the Rams, right? They're coming off the Chiefs in a bye. They got Chicago this week, and that Detroit game was kind of sitting there right in the middle. So it's Sean McVay and this Rams offense going up against the Chicago Bears, probably the best defense in the NFL. So if anybody can slow them down, might be the Bears.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen because Sean McVay knows all 11 Bears starters. So, I mean, that's advantage Los Angeles.
Did you see
there.
Everybody was raving about his ability to know his opponent on Twitter?
Look, I get that Sean McVay is kind of, flavor of the month, coach du jour, guy to be applauded, right? And the play recall stuff is pretty impressive, right? When you start quizzing him on plays that happened 3 years ago in a random Sunday game that made no difference to anybody,
right?
And he's able to tell you exactly what they were doing on 2nd and 10. That's impressive. Knowing all 11 players you're about to face this week on defense, not really impressive. I would consider that baseline of what you should expect a coach to be able to produce.
Well, that's the issue. The people that were tweeting about this are coming from such a low baseline of head coaches who just tell you, hey, go watch the film. I have no idea what I just saw or what I'm going to see.
Right.
That's why.
But that's the thing, right? If you're getting paid millions of dollars to be the head coach of an NFL team, I would kind of expect that you should know who the 11 people are you're about to face each given week. It's not that hard, right? You expect the players to be able to come up with a whole host of new plays and game plan specific stuff. The very least you should know is the guys you're about to go up against. So I mean,
they do spend every second preparing for that team.
So I'm not massively impressed that Sean McVay was able to know the Bears starters.
Anyway, should be a good matchup with McVay and the Bears. There's really so many things that McVay does that are unique. So when our guys are preparing for Sunday Night Football, they pull out a whole bunch of nuggets, and hopefully a lot of them will show up in graphic form or whatever on Sunday Night Football. One of the things that we've noticed, though, over this entire season essentially is how unique they are using play action, using it on first down, using it after no huddle. That's one of those things that they do to keep defenses off balance. Jared Goff, number 1 in yards per play when using the no huddle, yards per attempt at 10.4, play action percentage on no huddle. Just something specific to keep an eye out for because everything they do makes Jared Goff and Todd Gurley really look good.
Yeah, that's the key. And, running 11 personnel almost the entire time as well, the thing that other coaches are criticized for in the past, it's the making of this offense because it creates these light defensive fronts for Todd Gurley to run at. The number one run.
How often?
98% of the time.
98% of his rushes come against 5+ defensive backs.
The next highest guy is at 85%. So, again, just a complete outlier off on his own. And that it creates these wide open holes you see every week. As impressive as Todd Gurley has been this year, and we can be in danger of belittling how well he's playing because if you lost him, I don't think it would be a massive blow to that offense, right? But that's not to say he's not doing incredibly well with the opportunities he's getting.
Right.
But when you watch the games, you just see these wide open spaces that Todd Gurley has to pick and choose in. It's that's a testament to what the offense is doing, the kind of 11 personnel use exclusively, creating these light fronts for him to run into, and then the number 1 run blocking line in the NFL opening up these giant holes. And that run blocking line itself is probably benefiting from these light defensive fronts as well because you're not dealing with those stacked boxes and bodies at the line of scrimmage. You have more space to work with to get into and to execute your block. So the scheme, Sean McVay, Jared Goff, everything in this offense is just working together and making everything else better. It's a beautiful example of the sum being way better than the collection of all its parts put together.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's why it's such a great matchup. The Bears defense, they rank in the top 10 in PFF grades when covering each position. So in coverage against running backs, against receivers, and against tight ends, they're in the top 10. So there's no just distinct weakness on that Bears defense. Of course, they have Khalil Mack. He's got 6 sacks now with when he's been blocked by more than one defender. That's number 1 in the NFL. So there's a lot of interesting stuff here. We've been on like the Aaron Donald tour this week. A whole bunch of Aaron Donald videos that we've posted either for Sports Illustrated, for the NFL, for their YouTube channel, stuff we've done on our own YouTube channel. He's getting MVP hype right now for the Rams because he has those 16 and a half sacks, and we have to give this whole speech about, well, he's not the most valuable player, but he's the best player in the NFL by a wide margin, and we've just got superlative after superlative for Aaron Donald. He has just been unstoppable, and people know that they have to stop him.
Yeah,
and it's he's going up against a Bears offense that does a good job of neutralizing opposing pass rushers because of all the eye candy they provide with the motion and the ways that they get guys in space. So just a really good matchup on both sides of the ball in this one.
Yeah, that will be a pretty interesting one to see how successfully they neutralize Aaron Donald. I don't think you can neutralize him physically, i.e. with just blockers. I think if you're going to successfully do it, it's going to be via scheme. How quickly you get rid of the ball, what kind of misdirection and stuff you present him with so that it slows him down himself. He starts hesitating, looking for where the ball is.
That's the neutralization I'm talking about.
Right,
yes.
It's all that kind of stuff. I don't think there's any way of actually stopping him by assigning blockers to him. It just doesn't. He's too good. At the very minimum, you need multiple blockers doing it. If you put one-on-one, it's not happening. I mean, I would say he is comfortably the best one-on-one pass rusher in the NFL. He's going to win. It's just a matter of how long it takes him, and usually it's pretty quickly. So you're going to need to dress it all up in order to slow him down. But I think the Bears are an unusually well-equipped team to do that.
Another fun stat that came out this week from our PFF guys, most games with 5+ pressures since 2014. That's Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald's rookie seasons. Mack has 42, Donald has 41. They're the top two guys in the NFL. Incredible draft class, right? When you have Mack and Donald coming out, kind of like when you had Von Miller and J.J. Watt coming out of the same class. Mitchell Trubisky should be back for the Bears. We haven't been able to change our analysis the last couple of weeks because he sat out. Still a guy that's graded a lot lower than the stats would show, but I think the difference between him and Chase Daniel, Daniel wasn't very good last week at all, but the difference has definitely been their ability on the ground to just, pick up first downs, be a part of the design running game. Trubisky does add that element. Still want to see him, be a little bit better on a throw-for-throw basis.
Donald has, I think, 26 more pressures than anybody else in the NFL since coming into the league.
It's got to be more than that, isn't it?
No, because Von Miller's been in the league the entire time.
Since 2016, he has 36 more than anyone.
Right.
But his rookie season, he wasn't as good.
Yes. So the past couple of seasons, he's been incredible. But when you consider that Von Miller basically averages 85 pressures a year, which is essentially a league-leading figure in most normal years, like that's Von Miller's average, and he's 26 odd behind Donald since he came into the league.
Right.
And Donald's a defensive tackle. Like that part doesn't get kind of expressed enough.
That's the stuff you need to really hammer home is edge defenders
generate
they just
more
get
pressure.
way more pressure.
Right.
Because of unblocked pressure, because of just the nature of the position, you just get more pressure from
Yes.
there.
Edge pressures get significantly more pressure than interior rushers consistently. It's just the way it happens because of all those factors you said. And yet Donald is generating pressure at a higher rate than anybody else since he came into the league, and at a way higher rate than anybody else recently.
Right.
So it's only getting more ridiculous. Like since he came into the league, he beats Von Miller, who's one of the most spectacular speed edge rushers we've ever seen. And over the past few years, it's not even been close. He's way ahead of anybody else.
And Vaughn benefits from all the unblocked pressures that you get off the edge because of bootlegs and the various...
Right. Von Miller, I think, had, over that same time period, Von Miller, I think, had 36 unblocked pressures of some kind. I think Donald was 12, 14, something like that.
Yeah.
It was under 20 anyway.
Yeah, usually on a stunt or something.
That statistic is not because Donald is so much better than Von Miller. That is a position alignment statistic.
Right.
All of the defensive interior guys have way less unblocked pressure because it's harder to forget to block a defensive tackle than it is an edge rusher where, depending on what way you slide the line, you can intentionally leave an edge rusher unblocked. You're almost never going to do that to an interior guy. It's going to be some kind of screw up in the scheme that causes this guy to come unblocked up the middle. But the point is, he's still been doing it with way less opportunity to get those free pressures.
The Chicago offense ran through Tariq Cohen last week.
Yeah.
12 catches, had a passing touchdown.
But not through Alec Ogletree.
Not throughout. So last week we said, look, you could run an entire offense when targeting Alec Ogletree. However, I like the way our director of our analysis, Ben Stockwell said, the Giants sacrificed Landon Collins.
Right.
So that Alec Ogletree didn't have to die in coverage against
That's exactly
Tariq
what it
Cohen.
was.
So Landon Collins covered Tariq Cohen last week. And Cohen had the 12 catches for 156, had a passing touchdown. He now has the number 3 receiving grade among running backs. Here's the one I found interesting. He is the Bears' top target on third down, in the red zone, in the fourth quarter, and when the QB's under pressure. Yeah. That's a lot of places that they're going to Tariq Cohen as the go-to guy.
He's legitimately their go-to receiver, which isn't often a running back, but it is in their case. And you've got to kind of give the Giants credit, right? They, I think, identified the same thing we did, which is this could legitimately be the entire offense, is them targeting Tariq Cohen on Ogletree one-on-one all game. So we need to have a completely specific game plan that ensures that does not happen. And Landon Collins, you're right, was the guy that got sacrificed to make it happen. And even though he got eaten alive a couple of times, it's a way better situation than it would have been if they just
He's got a better shot. And that's one of those places where Collins had to take on a harder task. His grade wasn't great because he couldn't handle Cohen. Ogletree makes team of the week because he makes a few splash plays as a pass rusher and in coverage.
It had the two things, right? It had one benefit, which is it could have been so much worse with the guy that was trying to cover Tariq Cohen. And two, it meant that Ogletree kept popping up places that he wasn't expected to be and catching interceptions because of it. So it worked out a couple of ways. It was that's a genuinely good piece of coach game planning.
So many good matchups to watch in this one. I think it's going to be one of the better games of the year. Goes back to this whole NFC. The NFC is just playing playoff games every single week. This is another one, and it's at Chicago in December. That's something, too, with the Rams offense going there. So we're all taking the Rams other than who we got. Zach and Neil taking the Bears.
I could see that. I could see the Bears winning this.
Oh, I could see the Bears winning this, too, especially with Trubisky back. Probably running a more efficient offense than they've run the last couple weeks.